So good morning to you, everybody out there at the moment, listening in from North America or Canada or wherever in the world you are based. Thank you so much for being in our audience today. And we have a wonderful session lined up for you. We'll be looking at course, volunteer and runner communication. And a couple of different platform options that give you some great ideas and ways that you can help master and make all that kind of communication more efficient. For those of you that don't know me already, then my name is Terry Chiplin. I'm the event director for the USTRC conference and also for this webinar series. And I was just saying to our co-presenters that this will be the last webinar or last masterclass this year. Yeah, we also have some exciting news on new things happening for next year, but more about that another time. So without further ado, I will play a short video which will introduce our presenting sponsor, which is Marathon Printing. They're the presenting sponsor for both the conference and this RD Masterclass webinar series. So bear with us. It'll just take over just slightly more than 1 minute. Thank you.
Marathon Printing Inc. is the presenting sponsor for the RD Masterclass webinar series and for the US Trail Running Conference. It's a family-owned business that specializes in producing custom printed items for endurance sports. Race bibs are their most popular item, either custom printed or stock bibs. Marathon Printing also supplies vital accessories for race directors like pins, bags and pennant flags, as well as postcards, business cards, brochures, bumper stickers and labels. They've also produced and helped us with the lanyards for the conference for a number of years now. They have been a loyal supporter of the US Trail Running Conference since 2015 and are also an event standard partner for our event partner, American Trail Running Association. We are very grateful to Ryan Zirk and Anthony Foster and the team at Marathon Printing for their support of this webinar series. For more details or a quote, visit Marathon Printing or email sales@marathononline.com or call 800-255-4120.
Okay, and big thanks to Anthony and Ryan and the team at Marathon Printing. And without their support, then the conference wouldn't happen and this RD Masterclass wouldn't happen either. So we really appreciate them, and we encourage you to reach out to them if you need anything printed or supplied for your races, including, of course, race bibs. So that was their main thing. Okay, so excuse me, slight tickle in my throat here. Without further ado, Rob, actually, we'll start with you. If for those folks, I'm sure probably most people know you, but for those folks that don't, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? So, obviously, your name and where you're from at the moment, yeah, why you're excited to be part of this webinar.
Sure. My name is Rob Goyen. I'm in Pleasant, Houston, Texas, aka Always Hot, but. I've race directed since 2014 in Texas, and also worked as a contractor for UltraSignup. Currently now I do and help everything RD on the RD side, which is help our RDs out in the marketplace, knowing what's coming their way, helping them with tools, talking about permits, anything and everything in between. But yeah, I've put on hundreds of races. I love events, and I also love the practice of putting them on and how to do them the best, and the learning part of it along the way as well.
Cool. Thank you so much, Rob, and excellent. Thank you for being here. Christian, if you would like to go next up.
Yeah, my name is Christian Salcedo. I am one of the co-founders of Endurance HQ. I'm a runner. I've been a trail runner for some time now, and just love the sport. I came from the technology side in my career. I was involved in technology used at corporate events and started a company doing that. I burned out on the corporate side of things and was tired of servicing corporate clients, and kind of stepped back and thought, what can I do in the sport that I love? And that's where Endurance HQ came from, which is, a mobile platform for race directors to try to streamline communications, content, to volunteers, create engagement with sponsors. We're still learning a lot. We're not even a year in really, but we've had a great year, and I'm really excited just to learn more too, from Rob, speak about our experience, but learn from Rob and others about communications around the races.
Brilliant. Thank you, Christian. Yeah, for those folks who are online at the moment with us, then if you came to the conference last year, then you will already have experienced the kind of app that Christian can provide. He came out of the blue and reached out to me and and did an amazing job with putting together the app that we use for the conference. And I'm glad to say that he'll be providing the app for the conference again this year. Very much looking forward to using that. Okay, Christian, would you like to kick off and tell us a bit more about Endurance HQ and why race directors should be interested in hearing about what it can do?
Yeah, I will. And I think I'll just share my screen. I think the best way to kind of talk through this is to share the app. So let me, it says I'm sharing. I don't know if everybody can see it. There you go.
There you go.
So this is the app that we did for Broken Arrow. Rob, I know you were there. I think you saved my tent, or you tried to save my tent in that crazy windstorm. It didn't quite work, but I went through 2 tents. And we'll talk about that, because I think that was a big comms thing that came up on that Saturday. Yeah. But the first thing in communications for us, I mean, we're more on the week before the race, leading up to the race. Well, for most races, and then delivering all the content. Because if there's one thing I've learned from race directors, is the amount of content that runners never see. We don't know what it takes to put on this race, and we kind of consume all of these things. But one of the challenges that we found is that race directors are communicating so many different forms of content on different platforms, right? They're using their websites, they're using emails, they're using social media, they're using the registration site like UltraSignup. And so as a runner, I found that challenging when I was doing races and trying to get my crew and line up everything and tell them where to go and what times were cutoffs and that kind of thing. So I thought, let me repurpose this thing that I've been doing for my career into an app. So really, this is about streamlining all of that content and putting it in one mobile platform so that it's very easy for people to consume. And the first thing that people need to consume really is brand. So you can see here for Broken Arrow that it's branded, and every app is branded for the race. And everything is sort of customized for that race. So these buttons aren't right for every race. We choose what buttons are going to be there and when too. And they can also be targeted to certain groups, like certain distances and whatnot. So we have the full schedule that people can look at, with links to maps so that people can easily find it. We've got the race information. So at Broken Arrow, there are a number of distances. And so for people to be able to see some of the details about the race, but then also we're talking about course communication. What are quick and easy ways that people can access that course communication and link to an interactive map from inside the platform? And all of this content, again, I mean, the race guides that race directors create are incredible. But one thing about races or any event really is that change is the norm. So the beauty about using technology in this case to communicate all of this content is that it can be edited at any time and will update on everyone's phone within a few minutes. So that's really important. The other thing that we like to do with some of our clients are these volunteer assignments. So, communicating with volunteers is often a large task, and I see a lot of huge spreadsheets with emails and, which aid station this person's working at, which shift, and the volunteer coordinators trying to manage that. So we started doing this with Chuckanut, where we used the platform for people to sign up for their volunteer assignments. And then once that they had that assignment, it was on their app. So where they had to be, when they had to be there, directions on how to be there, who to contact if they needed help, all of that was there and available to them. And again, if it changed, that could be changed as well. Even if you have great content, as we learned at Broken Arrow, stuff happens, right? So at Broken Arrow, we had a beautiful race going, and I put some pictures in here. Suddenly, we got snow. This was June, and heavy snow, and quite a surprise. And we've been dealing with wind before that. And we kind of went from this beautiful scene of the finish line to this. This was after the storm had passed. So in real time, we had an emergency, really. And, Brendan Madigan and his team were scrambling and put into place the protocols, because not only was there snow, but there was lightning. And a lot of people were up on the ridge. And, this is a sky race. So he reached out to me. I was there on site, and I got a text from him saying, hey, send out a notification. So the notifications are the other things. We can do push notifications with the system, where some of them can be scheduled. If you know that you want to send out a push notification to everyone's phone, you can do that. But we can also do it live. And within 30 seconds, everybody will have it. And we sent out this warning where there's lightning, please go to the next aid station and await instructions, and for everybody in the village, please find shelter. And that's the fulfilling part for us. We were at the tram afterwards, and a woman came off. She said, oh, she saw my hat. She said, oh my gosh, you do the app. I was up there near the summit and I didn't know what to do. And I pulled out my phone to find out, and there was that push notification. So in emergencies, that's great. Now, the problem with that is that people need that connectivity, right? So you're still going to have your ham operators in certain spots, but it's amazing what's happening now with Starlink. I mean, I was just at Hard Rock, and I was out at Chapman, and we had Starlink, right? We had internet connection, so at least crew and the aid station volunteers could have received these warnings and known what to do. Yeah, and I think those, it's not just the emergency. I mean, that's kind of a dramatic thing, but I think the communication also, when things change. We just did the Rut this past weekend. I know that Mandy Mullen talked about it as sending out a notification when she used the app, and there was a lightning storm at the Rut. One of the things is forecasts change quickly, especially on a high summit. So for the VK, they needed to change to the cold kit, the mandatory gear, and we could do that easily with sending a push notification out. So those are kind of the main ways that we're helping and assisting with some of the communications. And really, by having all of this together, we're hoping, and what we've seen is it kind of reduces those night before the race, late nights from RDs. At least it reduces some of the emails that are coming in, because the content is so available, and race directors can kind of see what's trending in terms of questions. And if something's confusing in that content, then we can change it or send out a push notification. And
Fabulous.
That's our story.
Oh, I have a few more. We haven't got questions up on the comments yet, but I had some things for you. What I loved from my perspective with the conference is that, as you said, it gives me an opportunity as the organizer to put everything into one place. Now, you're right. You have to encourage people and let people know that this is going to be the main communication mechanism. So what? It's a lifesaver if there's if anything happens in terms of changes, then it's instantaneous, real time, and so everything is really slick and easy. But in terms of things like, you mentioned brand for the race, but how about brands in terms of sponsors and partners and that kind of thing for a race? Then what can the app do in terms of helping to communicate what brand sponsors and partners are doing in terms of supporting the race or partnering with the race?
Yeah, that's a great question. So with those sponsor relationships, we're doing the obvious thing. We're showing a list of all of the sponsors, the title sponsors, and having a little blurb and then links to their websites, but also to the tent location if they're, if it's a larger race. Then we're also doing things like virtual swag bags. Now, this one isn't live anymore, but there were, here's where brands could increase their visibility at the race by offering kind of virtual swag and saying, come by the booth and you can see here 20% off for one of the I forget what it's called, Via Peralta thing. Where people go on the mountain and climb. But we had one from Solomon. We had one from, I'm trying to think of who else, but just discount codes, right? So people were more likely to come to the tent and leverage that discount. And then the most successful thing that we did here was a game. So we gamified the expo and we created QR codes for every tent. The main sponsor tents. And then we told participants there are 2 prize packs. They put up some great prizes. It was a Garmin watch, Julbo sunglasses, and something else was one. And then Solomon gave out a pack and a pair of shoes. And when people heard that, they started playing the game. And you had to scan at least 10 tents. And we had this is the first time we've done it, but we had 367 people who scanned at least 10 of the tents and over 600 people who participated in the game somewhat. So that's just driving more people to the sponsor tents. And I know that's always a challenge and you want to kind of create those conversations. So this is a good starting point for that. And people are more likely to visit if they weren't planning on it in the first place.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you. The other thing that I've really liked and experienced is that you've and I don't know how much of this you do for different races out there. I guess it depends on the agreement you have with them, but you set up initially most things for the conference app, and then you gave me admin access so I could tidy up some things and make some changes and so on, and add last minute speakers and that kind of thing. So it's it was a very thoughtful process working through the app with you, and I think you've done a fantastic job, with me and the conference for that. So thank you so much. But Mandy was on the last the last webinar, and she was very keen to share how much she's enjoying the app, how much she's benefited from it.
Yeah. they've been great to work. She's been great to work with. And, they have these races that are really complicated that are, 36 legs of a relay. And, so we're putting together links to the tracking, links to all those legs, links to where the exchanges are, and just, making her kind of guidebook and race book electronic, so people have easier access to it. But we've been doing that as well.
Yeah. And, I started using an app for the conference when I realized how much waste it saved. Because I was originally printing a brochure for the conference every year, and it was crazy. At the end of the conference, clearing up and putting away the chairs and stuff, then it was like most of what was left on the ground. Very few people took the brochure home, and it was just such a waste. And I thought, what the hell am I doing here? And so I looked around and I found some app suppliers, and but the beauty of working with you now is that you're invested in the trail running community, whereas those other app suppliers were just corporate suppliers, and they didn't really care kind of what the event was about, and Now
that waste is it's a small thing. I don't want to claim that we help races get too green, but where I've seen it, where we're working towards is also on the runner side, right? Because when I mentioned that, trying to get all the information for my wife to crew me during 100K, that became a handful of papers that I printed up to say, here's what time I'll be at the aid station, here's what to bring, here's this, here's that, links to directions and all of that. And I think what we want to work towards now is increasing that communication and the planning that runners can also do, to decrease the amount of that we're printing up to come to these things and prepare for them.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I'm just going to show this. This isn't it's a comment rather than a question, but Mandy's out there in the audience. So Mandy, thank you for being there. And we'll be looking forward to seeing you in a few weeks in Knoxville. And she says, yes, it was amazing, and I'm really excited to keep using this. I'm sure we didn't tap into all the potential given limited time. And that's certainly something that is true for me with the conference. It was like going through the first year that I think we've learned a lot from that, and we can be even smarter with the use of the app for the conference this year. So,
yeah, and that's the other benefit is we can put it together very quickly. I think with Mandy, we had maybe 10 days, maybe not even that long, but it came together quickly for her first one. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And another comment from Mandy here. So the feedback our athletes gave us was next level. Thank you for making us look so cool on top of it and tech savvy. Okay, cool. All right. Okay. Now this is a good question for you. All right. So Dale, great to know you're out there, and also look forward to seeing you in a few weeks too. So he says, hi Christian, can we use this to solicit community businesses and add discounts for runners and crews?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point that I didn't discuss. We did that. We did that for both Broken Arrow and Chuckanut, especially, where we had a list of local businesses that the RDs had talked to before. We gave them real estate on the app, and then that included discounts. At Chuckanut, we gamified it too. So, people that went to more of the sponsors, like the running store. But yes, we can absolutely do that. How we do that sort of depends, but I think it's a great way to pull in the local community for the race. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Dale, thank you for your question. So we've got another question from Adam Fierst here. So he says, have you thought about providing runners and crews, I guess, a mechanism to put their individual notes on the app?
Yeah.
Yeah,
we definitely have. So, we're in a constant state of production and improving on the app, and that's on our roadmap. So to allow runners to sort of create their own crew guides and their own sort of, pacing tables and that kind of thing. So that's on the roadmap. When we'll have, I would say it's probably going to be early next year that we have those things, but we're working on them as we speak. And Adam, I'd love to talk to you if you have any ideas. We're kind of doing a lot of voice of the customer to hear what would be the most beneficial. So let's talk about it if you're going to be in Knoxville.
Yeah, Adam hasn't registered. I don't know if he'll be there himself, whether he's going to come. I know, but what I'll do is I'll put Christian's contact email and Rob's contact email when I send out the recording, probably sometime tomorrow from this session. So Adam, you'll have Christian's email address in there. Too. So, great question. Yeah, not going. Sorry. Okay. All right. Not to worry, Adam. We did manage to see you. I think you came to at least one when we were in Estes Park. So thank you for your support, mate. It's good to know you're out there. Okay. So yeah, I think Christian, constant development. That's another thing about apps, isn't it? That it's you're never in a situation where this is the finished product, this is the final product. It's like it's a constant thing. It's
it's constant. It's constant. But I recently partnered with another runner who's actually, it's been really interesting. He's in his 20s. He's Gen Z. I'm in my 50s, and but he's a developer and a great trail runner. His name is Tyler Wolf. I'll give him a shout out. I think he got third at the Canyons 100K in 2019. Wow. So he's legit, but he's a developer, and we're working together now to really improve the platform. And as some people who are actually people that I met last year, we've been using them to get voice of the customer ideas of how we can improve this and make it better and better and better for race directors and easier to manage. And we're hearing a lot of great things. So that's always the process.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for the questions there. And Christian, thank you for sharing information about Endurance HQ. And look forward to seeing you at the conference in Knoxville. Okay, Rob, over to you. And thank you for sharing your knowledge and expertise with the UltraSignup platform. And
sure.
So over to you, my friend.
Yeah, well, I did meet Christian at Broken Arrow. There is a story there. I'll tell it really quickly. But when Christian was showing you all the ice pictures and the snow pictures, there was lightning. The village was told to be shut down. So we ended up in one of the restaurants, and we were ordering food, getting coffee, watching everything. And out of the corner of my eye, I kept seeing this tent, and I kept seeing this tent get lower and lower. And it just was like catching my eye. And then I looked at one of the guys that was with me, and I said, man, that tent's about to go down. So, and I could see what happened is basically the snow had gotten on top of it, but it was taking it. It was here. So we bolted out the door. We jump out to the door. And as soon as we get out there, you could hear it creaking. We're able to pop the edges up, start to take it a little bit down. Christian walks up. And I was like, man, your tent was so close to being gone. It was crazy. And Christian walked up and he was like, oh, thank you. So so that was funny. It's I couldn't help but see it the whole time I was eating. Man, there's something wrong here.
I still owe you. I was such a 10 rookie when it came to that. The first one got blown over in the wind and broke. I went into town. I bought a new one, and I almost killed that one with the snow because I didn't know there was going to be snow. So Rob, I owe you big time.
No worries.
Drink and then some.
No worries. Well, it was good to see you out there, and obviously, and I want to say something. The interesting thing about communication with runners is pretty consistent, right? We're talking about clarity, right? We're talking about trying to give clarity. We're talking about timeliness of it. when is the times it's needed. That doesn't matter if you're a volunteer or a participant. And then it's also like accessibility. So those three things are kind of always going to be the same. I think Christian represents this very interesting place in the market where we're seeing basically something that's been used at scale before come into our sport, which is the amazing side of our sport getting bigger. But if you've ever gone to like a PAX event, or you've ever gone to like a Comic-Con, or you've ever gone to, if you're in esports, which my son is a dream hack, you'll see that they've used like this technology over time. And it essentially, you're walking into a building, app loaded, tells you where everything is in these 100,000 square foot buildings. You scan to win prizes. You might be there to do something, and it'll pop up that there's a 100-person autograph signing at Hall A. The first 100 people that get over there get this. So it's been used in other sports, and it's super neat, at least on my end, to see it come to our sport and to see it, be used in this way, which I look at it like this is the tip of the spear of where we're going. And as I've reminded a lot of race directors over the years, we don't go backwards in the world. We only go forwards. But communication with runners and volunteers, for the majority of it, still remains and is still needed. Primarily, we're communicating, if you're a race director, through your website. I think that's mostly the standard. Most people, if you're using a registration platform like UltraSignup, you are essentially putting everything on UltraSignup like you would as a normal website, and then usually linking back with information as well to like a home website as well. Obviously, our communication tools that we've had in the past stay true, which is like your email. I think the one part that's becoming a bigger asset to people is if they're using now technology on like an older resource. So websites we all use, but nowadays we're trying to use more of like maybe an AI help bot or a bot that's on that site that reduces the questions. I've always told people, and this is how I think of it, is if people are asking a question more than 3 times, you're probably not doing your job. So I'm always someone who, if you're getting the same question 3 times, like, hey, where's the course map? Where's the course map? Well, you probably don't have it, or it's probably not easily seen, or it needs to be in the forefront. But I think like the use of an AI bot when we're talking about website is another next step in trying to help, that problem in regards to it. And then I think also like social media has changed, but also I think there's a big plus to social media connection, which is you're connecting with people. You're obviously getting the attention. I think the drawback for a lot of people, especially race directors, is each time they essentially go into social media, they open themselves up for another channel for people to contact them with. And if you don't check your Instagram or you don't check your Twitter or you don't check your messages, you don't realize that a customer thinks that may be the only way they talk to you. So you do have to do a really good job of managing that. I think right now on Facebook, you can combine your Facebook and Instagram messages so that you're only checking one. But I think that's also something that, essentially we have to do. If you're an email person, I'm old school email person when it comes to that stuff. I always would try to put in my bios, if you have questions about the race, please email, chat, don't use the chat for specific questions, only because my goal, especially like if you have one race, you have 17, you're trying to get that information into one hub as quickly as you can and answer it. And obviously if you have employees, it's the same way in regards to that. But I think when we talk about communication and we're talking about UltraSignup and the use of a registration platform, I think the big ways to use it when we're talking about that is A, the website. You're able to put all of your information on the website when people are registering. B is the communications tool. There's an internal email communications tool that's built into the site that has templates that you as a race director can go in and you're able to email your runners whenever you want to in regards to the things that are happening with your race. And then there's also, as noted, an option for volunteering, setting up those schedules, setting up those dates and the tasks that people need to do in regard to that. And ultimately, that's UltraSignup when it was created many moons ago. I think now it's think it's like 17 years old. It ultimately it ultimately was built for you to be able to kind of do everything in one hub, and that's essentially what it does now. Oh, I think Terry's muted.
Whoa, yes, that helps. Thank you.
For sure.
Rookie mistake. It's my first webinar. Yeah, wonderful, Rob. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I was thinking ein volunteer. Well, you mentioned the kind of runner communication. So does UltraSignup also have a volunteer platform or segment of the are there specific kind of volunteer emails, or how does that side of the platform work?
Yeah, you can do the same thing. There is a volunteer option where you can create tasks and you can get information for those volunteers, and then you could use your communication to be able to contact volunteers as well, if needed. I know Christian alluded to the Google spreadsheets /phone /email sheets that we all have grown up using, and it's very true. But the times are changing, right? The times are changing with the automation side of it, and the less kind of manual side to it. I think that's an important note. There's other ways to get volunteers, and they're all pushing the pace of that as well. And that's actually something that we're working on the platform upcoming. But all of everything right now is going to this kind of more of race day, being able to contact people on race day, having things more automated. And I think some of that also, and maybe Christian can speak on that, but I think a lot of that, in the sport is just the demand of like the app that Christian has is actually very common in marathons, right? If you go to the Houston Marathon, which I live in Houston, and you go to, like, you don't even step in there without that app. You got to have that app on, and it guides you through. So I think that some of that push probably Christian is hearing is a lot of people that have used it in bigger events or marathons that are now like they want that same kind of user experience and accessibility now that they're in bigger trail races.
Yeah. And I think yes, that is what we're hearing, especially from the race directors of those bigger races who kind of have more to do. I will say, though, something that you brought up about AI chatbots and technology, and that we don't go back. And I think that's so true. At the same time, I just want to stress that good technology doesn't, especially technology like this, right? It doesn't replace human interaction.
Yeah.
It should catalyze it, right? It should make it easier to have those human interactions. And it seems counterintuitive for technology to do that. But really what we're trying to do is create more time and make it easier for people to find each other and find, the sponsors that they want to talk to and that kind of thing. So I just wanted to make that point as well, as I heard Rob talking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I think that makes sense because at the end of the day, the idea of going to a race is to do it in person, right? We're talking about live events with live people, live high fives, live hugs. Like, essentially, if we can cut down the amount of time that runners may feel frustrated or want to find information, or their loved ones are watching or their loved ones are crewing, if we can make that easier as an experience for them, then we essentially have a better experience for them in the live version of what we're trying to do.
Brilliant. Yeah. Laurie, I know you've put a question up, and I'm going to get back to that shortly. But I was just thinking about what happened at Broken Arrow. Then that's kind of, unfortunately, we're seeing more and more of those kind of instances in the recent years. And whatever you think may or may not be happening to the climate, we are seeing change for sure. So it is something that I think we need to be more prepared to meet with. And I think, Christian's app and the communications tools that you've been talking about, Rob, as well, then help to deal with those kind of situations. because at the end of the day, then safety is the number one priority for any event organizer. Faced with a situation that where people are being threatened in some way, shape or form, and unfortunately, we have seen some people who have or situations where runners have lost their lives because of changes in weather. So it is. I think it's something that's going to become more important. As we kind of carry on the journey with discovering what the climate has in store for us. And it's a tough situation, but it's good to know that there are options and tools there for us. So Laurie, I'll put your question up now, and great to see you out there too. Haven't been in contact with the world. So she says, Christian, I don't see any pricing info on your website.
That's a secret. No, we just are about to publish kind of a new pricing structure. Keeping in mind with where we are, we've been doing a lot of free trials for your first race. So Laurie, we will publish that. And I think, for smaller races, we're starting to go with a flat fee of $500 and then upping that as you get more participants and distances. So that's kind of the starting point. But I know that, this is new. So we're also, as we talk to race directors and people are like, well, I don't know yet what the value is then. We kind of let the technology speak for itself, and we'll do a test, a trial with race directors.
Cool. Good. I think that's a really smart idea, Christian. Thank you. So Laurie, hopefully that answers your question for you. And sounds like you might be in contact with Christian as well. So look out for the information and recording coming your way. I think we had a comment or two with the last webinar where people were asking about pricing for smaller events for Endurance HQ.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know if you can speak to maybe a little bit more about that too.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's a little bit of a business and a passion project, and we're trying to do what makes sense for race directors, because this is an add-on, right? Like we recognize that, and as it becomes, as we grow in the market. We're definitely looking to make it as affordable as possible, but also cover, our cost of a business. And we're only two people, right? There are two of us cranking this out. So, but yeah, we're doing a sort of just under $500 for small first-time events. If you have a large festival type of event, like Broken Arrow, then we're looking at somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000. But one distance, one race, under 300 runners or 500 runners. And I just encourage people to anybody that knows me, just call me. We can talk about that. And if it's something where you've already opened registration, you already have your budget, then we'll do a trial and see how that goes.
Okay. I'm going to date myself here. I don't know if Christian, you might know this because I'm a little bit older.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
I'm a little bit older than you, but I was thinking we'll call you MasterCard. Our flexible friend.
That's right.
Right. Okay. I was thinking, Christian, something that Rob mentioned that I thought it'd be a great idea. Wouldn't it be great if we people who come into the conference as they register, we don't allow them in unless they have the app downloaded. I think that's a really great idea.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see for the conference, how we leverage it. But we've had some race directors start to talk about that, where they couldn't do it this time because it's sort of the first time around and it's new, but making this, mandatory. For exactly what happened at Broken Arrow, right? You make a jacket and a certain number of liquids, mandatory. So I think at some point we're going to have to make apps mandatory. The challenges with our sport, obviously, is connectivity. So, that will remain the challenge. And I've talked to several people about that. We've actually, I'll be perfectly transparent. We've lost clients because of that. Like, there's, the offline capabilities at the time weren't enough, and we absolutely need offline capabilities. So that's something else we're working on. The thing that doesn't help, though, even if you have, sort of all the information downloaded in the app, it doesn't help those live communications. There's not a lot right now that we can do about that, but our fingers on that pulse.
Yeah. And again, technology is developing, super quickly as well. So,
Yeah, I mean, like I said, and Dale, I was out at Chapman and that they had Starlink. I wasn't using it, but they had it, and it was available for, the timing and the reporting on the splits.
Right.
So,
yeah. Okay, we got another question here from Adam, our prolific question master here. He says, do you hear app burnout? E.g., you mean I have to download another app just to do your race?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, look, if you line up 10 people and you ask them about their appetite for technology, you're definitely going to have a few that don't want to download another app. Yeah. And that's fine. I mean, I think that's okay. I get it. We have a lot of apps. I think, though, what we'll see is what happened. I was in the events industry that we've been talking about at the very beginning, and people said the same thing. As the value becomes more apparent, and as it becomes, because you have to find value in order to use something. And if we're not providing value, then you shouldn't download it. And I think that increases it, but you're always going to have people that don't want to download it, and you do hear that. But so far it's a pretty small percentage.
Yeah.
And I would even say also to add to that is also that you're also, I mean, if you look at the data, which obviously we presented at TrailCon this year, which was in between Broken Arrow and States, but we presented some of the data, but we also know that a large majority of the sport that's coming in right now is our younger community. Like, it's post-collegiate, it's getting younger. So there's also something to be said of like building something for the generation that's coming into the sport as well. That generation that's coming in, and a large majority of the runners right now that we know are coming in from the run club side, they want the apps. They like the information. They want to screenshot that stuff. So there's a large wave of people coming into the sport that want those things as well. So
yeah, absolutely, I agree. And Christian, I'm so glad you mentioned the value, because that is key, isn't it? And then the other part of it is experience. So what kind of experience does the user have with the app? And so a lot of that is about the first time around. Sure, maybe the experience or the welcome, if you like, is not as great as it could be. But then the other part of that is that is if they have a great experience at the race, and the app has been a part of that, then that's the value they take away from that experience. And especially if the app continues to provide value even after the event has finished in some way. So lots of different opportunities. And great question, Adam. But yeah, you're right, Rob. We're going to see audiences are going to get younger.
And just a point for race directors that are considering using a technology, I really highly suggest there's this tough moment, right, where it's like, hey, I'm using a new technology, so I'm a little bit nervous about really going for it. But invariably, we see the race directors that leverage more of the functionality and more of the features that provide that value have a more successful adoption rate and just feedback from their users. So if it's just sort of another thing on the side that it's not going to work, so that's just another tip.
Yep. No, that's a great idea. It makes sense to embrace it, doesn't it? It's yeah. So for sure. Okay. All right. We haven't got any more questions on the comments side here. So we're a little bit ahead of time, but that's not a bad thing to be. And big thanks to Christian and to Rob, and really appreciate you coming on and sharing your expertise and knowledge. And Rob, I'm so sad that I won't get to meet you at the conference. It was like when originally you could, and now things come up. So I'm sorry, but hopefully our paths will cross another way, another time.
For sure, yeah, absolutely. Just it's interesting. Of all my years of race directing, I never could have made it because of that. And then my daughter's fall break is the same weekend, so I'm trying to stay married. So I'm gonna go vacation.
Well, that's important too.
Yeah, that's important. So. But Carrie will be there, and our team from UltraSignup will be there. So, and I'm stoked. I mean, I always have a lot of friends that go and speak, and it's obviously wonderful event. So I'm sure it'll hit off again. Well,
yeah, bless you. Well, Christian, we look forward to seeing you in Knoxville, and I'm sure we'll talk in the not too distant future about the app. Thank you again. This is the last webinar. Usually I say I give a shout out for the next webinar coming up, but instead the next event coming up is the US Trail Running Conference, and that's October the 15th to the 17th. And I will be sending out information on that just in case anybody out there that is still thinking about registering. Then I'm going to send a little discount code out, and we'd love to see you. So thank you so much, everybody. Okay, Christian and Rob, if you don't mind holding on, I'm going to end the stream, so we'll have the outro little video. But then if I'll have a quick chat with you afterwards. So so don't leave just yet. Thanks so much, guys.